Okay, it's the meeting of the Planning Committee on September 23rd. Can we get a roll call, please?
Good morning. Director Matt Sampson,
Here.
Director Jed Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Ranjiv Kush,
Here.
and Chair Larry Russell.
Here.
Currently, I'm sorry, not in today will be Director Diana Mayer.
And can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Director Sampson,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kush,
Aye.
and Chair Russell.
Aye. Public comment on non-agenda matters.
There are none.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Director Sampson,
Yes.
Director Smith,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kush,
Aye.
Chair Russell.
Aye. Okay, renewal of Geographic Information System license agreement.
Good morning, directors. My name is Brett Uppendahl. I'm the finance director. I'm joined here today by Mariette Shin, our GIS analyst in engineering. Today we have an item for you that is to renew our enterprise license for our Esri GIS product. We'll provide a brief overview of GIS here at Marin Water, and then Mariette will go through all the additional features that we've recently been taking advantage of in our current enterprise license agreement. And then at the end, we'll wrap it up and talk about next steps in terms of not only this agreement, but the future of how this integrates with our SAP programming. So just for a brief overview, many of you may know, but the district has used GIS software services here for more than 30 years. We recently, back in 2022, transitioned from kind of a user-based license into an enterprise license agreement with Esri. That ended up being very beneficial for the district, as Mariette will talk about here in a few minutes. Not only, as the slide says, did we expand our user base from 58 employees here to over 130, but we also have many more functions and features. And it's really been providing a lot of good tools for staff across many divisions here. Engineering, watershed, field staff are among the primary users, but it is really a tool that is used across the district in every single division. So it's a critical resource here for us. As I mentioned in my opening remarks there, it is highly integrated with SAP. So we do have a lot of work in front of us in terms of as we migrate to the new versions of SAP, how we're keeping our GIS system in line there and upgrading it on its own right. And Mariette will talk to some of those details as well. But I will kick it over to Mariette to talk through these. I think, as you guys know, Mariette has been here for closer to 25 years. So she's seen this GIS program from its infancy all the way through now to where we are. So we're happy to have her as the resident expert in the face of GIS, and I will kick it over to her for the rest.
How do they access it?
How do they access GIS?
Yeah.
Through multiple different avenues, either I'll get into that right now, but afterwards you can also ask if you need clarifying questions. So right now we have been on the enterprise licensing agreement with Esri for the last 3 years. Prior to that time, we were very limited and we had 2 separate kinds of licensing. We had only 17 basic desktop GIS licenses and 10 advanced license users, which we had 10 licenses, but we didn't even take advantage of all 10 advanced licenses. And then we had a separate ArcGIS Online agreement with only 30 user limit and limited access to software and tools. And we started growing our offline ArcGIS field map application. And as we grew that, more and more field staff needed access to this map offline in the field, but we didn't have the licenses available to them. When we moved over to the Esri user licensing agreement in 2022, August 2022, we were rapidly expanded the number of field users who are now able to have that benefit in the field to see our data, find the route to where they need to go, all of that access. As we probably have about 72 dedicated field users on the ArcGIS Online account. With the Esri enterprise licensing agreement now, we are able to combine all of the different licensing into one package, including desktop, our server management, all our licensing management, and ArcGIS Online tools and users and roles and assigning all of that. We now have all of that in one package, which has been hugely beneficial. This slide right here depicts one of the software options on ArcGIS Online that we now have access to, called ArcGIS Online Hub. So I used the hub to showcase some of the maps that we were able to create as a result of having this ELA in place. So we have fisheries doing all sorts of data collection, map making, story map making, dashboards for ArcGIS Online use that could be displayed to the public and internally. We have the water quality group, the water resources group, collecting data on HD tank evaluations in the field now. The water quality technicians are doing that. They would not have been able to do that without this ELA. We have our CIP, or Capital Improvement Projects, interactive map now on our website, which engineers can even go in and edit internally if they need to. We would not have had that capability otherwise without the ELA. We have Viewer we're working on to allow intranet access to all our data from the cloud. Let's see. So ELA gives us unlimited use subscription, basically, district-wide for a fixed annual fee in one package. It gives us scalability and flexibility to basically assign any employee any level of user role or user type. We did not have that ability before the ELA. So example is we have, like I mentioned, offline mobile applications like our MMWD field map MMPK. And there you can see just a display of our different pipe pressure zone areas on that map. We also have this software called Survey 123 through our ELA. And I gave the example of HD tank data collection out in the field. It's automatically synced with a web layer in ArcGIS Online. It gets updated automatically as soon as they collect it. Some of you may recall we recently implemented a new valve exercising program. We were able to take advantage of the ELA's, what they call ArcGIS Field Map Editing and Designer app, to be able to create an app that allows the valve exercising team to collect and edit data real time and take photos and add in attachments. And our new field supervisor, Benjamin Alexander, and I have worked on this, and he finds it extremely useful. So it's synced automatically with our feature layers online. And in that picture you see, this is just a test example. All the green dots are where valves have just recently been turned, and the red are incident locations where they had issues with the valve turning. And all of that's reported and collected through the online forms that they have on their mobile devices and is automatically synced with the data layers online. It's amazing. Our watershed fisheries biologists also use Survey 123 to collect, to do their annual fish surveys. And here you see our fisheries biologist, Eric Ettlinger, easily and cleanly collecting the data they need to document the survey results. And that is also synced online. And he didn't have that ability prior to 2022. As I mentioned, our desktop users have grown. So prior to 2022, we had a maximum of 17 ArcGIS desktop basic users and maybe like a handful of 3 or 4 advanced users. Now we have 53 pro desktop users who are using the software to do advanced analysis and map making. And I've seen pretty incredible work even in our records engineering department, where we've streamlined data requests, public data, information data requests and map making through programming through this pro desktop software. The ELA also allows us to publish what are called GIS map services. And basically that's just an online version of our data that can be accessed with a simple URL. You can apply that or use that URL to share with other public agencies, to share with the public, to add to any mobile device, to add to your desktop. It's super flexible, and to be honest, this is the way of the future for GIS data sharing. And we have all that power in our hands with the ELA. This is just an example of what you've probably already seen on our Water District website. It's the Capital Improvement Projects map, and it's interactive. It gets updated pretty frequently with showing the locations and information and costs associated with our capital improvement projects and their status. Now, because we have the ELA, we can have a number of different engineers access and edit this data that's public facing. In the future, we have a new schema or look and feel for our desktop GIS data. It's a new network called the Water Utility Network. Currently, we're on something called the Geometric Network. We're going to be required to migrate to the utility network in the near future. It is heavily integrated with SAP, as Brett mentioned earlier, but this ELA includes the software necessary for us to do the migration to utility network without additional licensing.
Marriott, a quick question. Is that the CPUC requirement? The data transfer?
This guy right here.
Okay, it's only Tuesday. We got a long weekend.
Coming
Yeah, it's all right. Is the data transfer, the formatting required by CPUC? Is that why we're moving that way?
The utility network?
Yep.
Oh, no. It has to do with the geometric network no longer being supported for editing and updating our GIS data at the district. It won't be supported anymore.
Gotcha. Okay,
So
thank you.
this is a new schema called utility network, and we need to migrate that in order to continue to update our GIS data, which is critical. We've been extremely successful at keeping our data current in GIS, and we hope to maintain that high level of accuracy going forward in the future. But as what would be required is smooth transition to utility network for that to happen. And so that's coming in the future. It's a pretty big monster of a project, but it will be necessary for us to continue updating and administering GIS data here at the district. Oh, next.
So next steps here. So what Marriott provided was an overview of how we've been utilizing the new enterprise license agreement. That agreement, as we mentioned, began in 2022. So it is up for renewal here in 2025. So we are recommending another 3-year renewal so we can continue to take advantage of the new products and services. Built into that 3-year enterprise license agreement renewal will be the underpinning software and the licenses we need to go to the utility network. So there's definitely an effort on top of that to do the transition, but we are entitled to the correct software with the current agreement. So there will be no additional cost for the underlying software there. We will bring back the proposed agreement to a future board meeting, future regularly scheduled board of director meeting. And then we will be bringing future items in 2026 to start talking more about the upgrade to the utility network and the kind of parallel projects that we'll have in terms of integrating with the new SAP as well. So there'll be more discussions on the overall use of GIS, but for now we will be recommending a 3-year renewal of the enterprise license agreement at approximately $60,000 a year. That concludes our presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Question?
Thanks, Brett. Thank you, Marriott, for the good update. Is that an increase in the renewal in the agreement cost, the $60,000 per year?
It was $55,000 a year in our previous 3-year agreement. So yes, it is a $5,000 per year inflation-induced extra cost.
Not horrific. Marriott, just more of a curiosity question. You know, I think almost anyone dealing with infrastructure and a lot of other activities now is reliant on GIS, and it has been that way for a long time. That's obvious. And I knew we were using GIS from the beginning. I wasn't completely sure if we were using ArcGIS and if Esri was our provider. Makes sense that they are. It seems like they are the dominant player in the field. Is there anyone else? Is there competition? I'm not saying that we need to investigate competition. I'm just more curious. They seem to have such a grip on the whole GIS space.
They are definitely the dominant GIS provider out there in the market. We are also using something called GeoCortex Viewer, which is a browser-based GIS application. It's very successful here. However, that is going to be deprecated, and it's been really successful. So we're going to have to find an alternative, and we're probably going to move to the ArcGIS Online viewers and web maps to replace that GeoCortex. GeoCortex changed their name to Verted GIS a few years ago, but we still call it GeoCortex. So we do use an alternative to Esri. Esri and GeoCortex are partners, high-level partners though. So they do develop widgets as well to be shared in the Esri ArcGIS Online web map. So they work together, but Esri is most definitely the dominant Esri GIS provider.
Yeah, real monopoly almost, it seems like.
Yeah, but they're really effective. I mean, someone said Google.
Oh,
There's
okay.
Google Maps, but it's for our purposes, it's not as doesn't provide the same level of functionality that we need here.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Ted?
Yeah, thanks for the report out. Great to see you. Since I haven't seen you that much, must mean everyone's so happy in this organization these days. But
Do I have to answer
reach
that
out
question?
anytime, please. I just recall when we first met, how difficult the GIS system was for you to work with and the team to work with, and how much better it is now to hear. So these are great improvements and super supportive.
The GIS team has always been really good.
Has it been
actually.
this broadly used though?
No. We have a lot more functionality now with the enterprise licensing agreement, but GIS has always moved internally amongst the administrators. It's moved well.
Nice. Cool.
Thank you for the update. I think this is a pretty easy approval to move forward on this, but I appreciate the information. Just one operational question. Are we integrating or sharing map layers with other government agencies in the county?
Yes, Marin County. Marin Map is a consortium of, you probably heard about them already. So, but the servers are housed at Marin County. So we do share data with Marin Map.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
That was it.
Do we hook into these guys directly or they come through here,
Hook into what directly?
this Esri? When our,
Our ArcGIS Online, you mean?
do they URL to us or do they URL to them?
So they provide the web services and they manage the licensing and everything
So we
in the
go
cloud.
Through them. From the field people, it goes
Well,
assigned to them.
the map services we push from our server are internal right now that are used and consumed in the GeoCortex viewers, browser-based GIS I talked about. That's our primary target right now, but we could easily make those URLs public if we wanted to and share it with other public agencies like Marin County.
So when we have an emergency, does the driver of the truck have an iPad or something that?
They do. They have a mobile app that is offline, so they don't have to worry about internet
I
connectivity.
see.
Mhm.
So it's
And-
stored in their machine.
It is. It's downloaded to their mobile devices, but we also have the option of being able to edit offline or online maps out in the field to have it sync real time with the data that's in ArcGIS Online.
And how do you control, you've got multiple people that can change it. How do you oversee that to make sure
Well,
that
it's
done right?
Its permissions and roles are assigned accordingly, right? So I'm not going to give data editing access to folks outside a work group who shouldn't be editing that data. And
But
the
even
managers,
Inside a work group, there can be mistakes, right?
well, there can always be mistakes, even internally, if you're not even talking about
How do
GIS.
you control the quality?
Well, same as I think any other
What?
department would control.
Okay.
Quality is that the managers or supervisors are responsible for QA, QCing their employees' work.
So when a change is made in the field, how does it get integrated back to the system?
You can either do it real-time sync or do it manual sync. So if a supervisor wanted to check all the work first before clicking that button saying sync, they could do that, or they could allow their staff to do the automatic sync.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay. Do we need to do anything?
No, this is just a review.
This is just information.
Informational,
Okay.
yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bontempi Water Treatment Plant Backwash Valve Replacement Project.
Good morning, directors. My name is Zach Talbot. I'm the engineering manager of design. This morning we have Ava Pijon, who is the lead project engineer on the Bontempi backwash replacement project. And with that, I'll pass it over to Ava.
Good morning, directors. My name is Ava Prajon. I'm an assistant engineer on the design team. Today, I am here to present the Bontempi treatment plant backwash valve replacement project. This is a capital improvement project located at the Bontempi treatment plant in the town of Fairfax. This project will address the deteriorating conditions of the existing backwash system by replacing 5 existing 24-inch backwash valves, select pipe, and associated appurtenances. One primary backwash control valve will be relocated to a new vault on the exterior of the plant for ease of maintenance, and a new 24-inch isolation valve and 8-inch bypass pipe will be installed upstream of the new primary backwash control valve for redundancy. The replacement and installation of the new backwash valves and bypass system will ensure proper functionality of the Bontempi treatment plant backwash system while enhancing the operational reliability of the water treatment plant infrastructure. The engineer's estimate for this project is $530,000 and is scheduled to last 191 days with an estimated completion date of April 30th of next year. If bid documents are acceptable, staff will make a recommendation at a future regularly scheduled board meeting for contract award. The staff recommended action is for review and comment of the board with the planning committee's recommendation to proceed with the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool. Questions?
Supportive. Thank you.
That's quite a big job. I mean, the cost was surprising to me, but I assume
Those are
that
big valves.
those are big valves. I didn't realize it was so substantial.
Yeah, one of the things, Director, that drove the price is the valve being exterior into a subterranean pit, and the pipe itself is well below grade. So the bottom of the valve pit might be 8 or 9 feet below surface grade, and so they've got to build a valve pit box in there, and you have to size it appropriately for people to get in and maintain these 24-inch valves. And so that was almost a quarter of the price of the project, was just putting in the valve outside. Currently, it's suspended high up in the air, and it's hard to get to within the treatment plant. So having it accessible will be very beneficial to our maintenance staff.
And what's wrong with them?
Got it.
I'm sorry?
What's wrong with the current ones?
Yeah, so some of the chemical feed injections were near this area and were degrading the pipe and causing corrosion issues. That was part of the reason why we're relocating it. And then another reason is these valves are at the end of their useful life, so they're not sealing as well as they should be.
And we use a constant flow operation of the filters, or
These aren't
falling
the,
head?
This is for the backwash, so not constant.
yeah, these aren't the constant. These ones alternate.
These are the backwash.
Yeah, these are backwash, so they're variable speed, so we could change the speed in which the water flows into the different filter rates, the filter beds.
Cool. Okay. Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay. And so you need us to do something, yes?
Review and comment.
No, this is just review and comment,
Just
and then
review,
after
okay.
the bids and then this will come back to a
Okay.
regular board meeting. for
Okay,
approval.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Ava.
Thank you.
Zach? Water efficiency master plan year in review. Musical chairs this morning.
See how we did that? Good morning, Paul Sellier, Water Resources Director. As Carrie is pulling up the water efficiency master plan update or review presentation, I couldn't help myself, but when you're talking about plans, we all remember this sort of, was it no plan survives first contact kind of quote that's been ascribed to various modern luminaries, including, I think, Mike Tyson at one point. But so I was curious who actually said this. The Wikipedia helped me out this morning. Apparently, it was in 1871, a Prussian general, Field Marshal Helmuth von Moltke, is ascribed to have come up with that particular saying, something similar anyway. So, but as we look at our plan and our plan is indeed adaptable, knowing that as we move along, we're going to see different results than we maybe had thought. I'll just keep going. And so it's a good thing I have a few more remarks to make. So we know we're going to need to adapt the plan, but the plan itself, we established that plan to provide us a framework on which we could kind of rely on to implement our water efficiency plan. And the goal of that plan is to reduce potable water savings. And the way we went about it was to establish this sort of 5 strategies that anchor the plan. One around technology, a strategy around policy, another one around water loss and outreach and education, and then of course, incentives and programs. So we'll hear today from Carrie that each one of those 5 strategic areas has seen work over the past year. So we've addressed each one of those. So I was kind of happy to see, because it's easy to kind of forget some of them and work on others, but we've touched in all 5 strategic areas. Our plan, of course, contains a number of goals. And we didn't just set goals as sort of platitudes that we would hit and check the box and everybody would feel good about them. These are stretch goals, and we'll hear from Carrie about exactly why those are stretch. So today we're going to report out on the past year's efforts for the Water Efficiency Master Plan. And with that, I will let Carrie take it away.
Gosh, it was like the first time. Good morning, board. Carrie Pollard, Water Efficiency Manager. As Paul mentioned, we're giving the year in review for our Water Efficiency Master Plan update. So we'll start with a bit of process around how we developed this master plan, and then we'll jump into the actual program participation and the associated water savings. And then we'll hit some of the highlights over the last year. So incentive changes, policy changes, some of the analysis that we've done, and also some research and collaboration highlights. None of this information is going to be new. It's kind of a recap of kind of what we did over the last year that we should be really proud of, and then wrapping up with next steps. So starting with the development of the master plan. So there were quite a few starts and stops when we went down this path of having a master plan, getting a master plan in place. And the major one was the water shortage emergency. And so when we finally got to the point where we could move forward on this project, we evaluated our current program participation and saturation to calculate what is the savings potential for our current programs. And then we looked at other programs outside the district. So we talked to internal staff, but we also talked to folks throughout the state, our neighbor water utilities. We even looked at places like Las Vegas and Australia, really to get a good idea of what programs are out there that we should be considering that might be a good fit for our community as well. We developed all these programs, and then we sought community input. We had a full-day workshop to get engagement and input from the community members, not just our regular, suspects that come to all of our meetings, which we really appreciate, but other folks. We had about 20 people that spent the full day with us talking to us about the programs that we were developing. We took that input, we incorporated it into our plan, and we started packaging programs, and we looked at the cost effectiveness of these programs. And we knew that we had some programs that were incredibly cost effective, things like Flume, Smart Irrigation Controllers, AMI, right? Those were no-brainers. But then we looked at some that didn't pencil out to be quote unquote cost effective, things like CAPS, where we know it's very staff intensive and expensive to send a staff person out to someone's home. But the value add, working directly with that customer and engaging with them, it's hard to put a price tag on some of the additional benefits that the programs like that provide. And so what we did is we packaged these programs, and we said, as a whole, our water efficiency program, what we had selected would be cost effective, even though there may be line items that weren't necessarily penciling out for us. And that was a recognition. We then took those programs and established water saving targets, so levels of participation and long-term savings goals. As Paul mentioned, the outcome of the plan were these 5 key strategies. We wanted to lean on data, right? We wanted to recognize that we wanted to have a data-driven program and do analysis to improve our programs as we move forward. We wanted to recognize that also that policies would need to be updated and changed, right? What we have in place today may need to shift tomorrow. We wanted to look internal for water savings opportunities as well, not just rely on our customers to do all the work. We recognize there'd be needed refinement in outreach. We'll see some course corrections that we went through our outreach program over the last fiscal year as well, and we'll touch on that in a moment. And all of this is really wrapped around supporting our customers through these innovative programs, right? Driving our customers to participate in these programs and help us achieve the water savings that we're projecting. So as part of the master plan is we looked at how we were going to calculate these water savings, because of course this is key to establishing goals. So we looked at each program. Sometimes I refer to them as programs or measures or activities. They all mean the same thing. To say, well, what are the actual water savings that we can anticipate, and what's the number of years of useful life for each of these measures? We looked at industry studies. We talked to others in the community around water efficiency. We had peer review as well to make sure that we were on track and we weren't overestimating or cutting ourselves short on the potential water savings as well. We then also looked at participation levels, and Paul mentioned this. This plan was developed immediately following our water shortage emergency, our drought. And so what we did is we set aspirational goals intentionally. We set the goals for the master plan at the same level that we saw for participation during the drought, which was beyond anything we could have imagined, right? And this was a recognition because we wanted to set the bar high. We wanted to really push the community and push ourselves to achieve maximize the water savings within, in implementation of the plan. And of course, actual savings will vary, right? We know this, right? It's always going to be a look back on what was our actual production, what was our actual GPCD for the year, behind us. But we have estimates that we can make around water savings. And I included one example here for our turf replacement program. And we went through this same process for each one of the measures, but I included turf replacement program as an example. So 28 gallons per square foot per year. We estimate a useful life of 23 years. And we have an annual participation rate of 170,000 square feet of turf. So all that feeds into projecting what the water savings would be within the plan. When we looked at those water savings, we then could really easily kind of tease out and see there's 3 major initiatives that are going to help us get to where we want to go. And this plan goes out to 2045. AMI is a big one. Right? We know that helping customers understand their water use and really relying on that AMI to help with leak notifications will be key to achieve these water savings. Another one is our large landscape customer initiative. So working with our large landscape customers, so our schools, our parks, our businesses, to reduce their water use in their landscape in alignment with the state's regulation on non-functional turf, which is coming starting in 2027. So we'll start to see that kind of roll out as well. And then we have this kind of the low bar there, not necessarily at all a low bar, but that turf conversion, that slow, steady kind of ongoing savings that we know we're going to need to just kind of chug away at to get folks to engage with us and take out their turf and move to something that's more water efficient.
Carrie, can you just go back one slide, please? We heard a lot of good news about the large landscape conversion, how much water that's reducing, and that number looks, or that curve looks pretty good. It's almost the same curve as AMI. And it seems like that's a really, really powerful estimate for AMI. I was wondering if you could just dive into that a little bit more to see how you came up with that projection.
So we recognize that we have estimates from AMI based on leak notifications, right? Letting customers know that they have a leak. And so you fix a leak today doesn't mean you're not going to get one tomorrow. So the savings are drawn out a lot longer. And more kind of ongoing. Whereas the turf conversion program, we will continue to get those savings, but there's only, 900 irrigation accounts within the district where there's, 55,000, accounts that could get AMI. So it's just a smaller, same pitch, but there's just fewer customers, right? So we think we're going to tap those out sooner and then, be able to move into longer term with AMI with really achieving additional savings for the whole community, not just the smaller subset. Does that answer your question somewhat?
Carrie, one more. When I look at the turf conversion goals that we have in the plan, I always wonder if at some point we run out of turf to convert.
I hope.
But is the current plan is we're confident that there's still that much opportunity available for conversion.
Yes. Yeah, I hope. I don't recall the percentage. I could look it up, but we didn't project replacing 100% of the turf.
Okay.
In implementation of the plan, we were attempting to be realistic as well, right? So those are the three main kind of initiatives to drive that drive the water savings. But overall, each one of the programs provides some benefit as far as additional water savings. And so what we have here, and this is directly from the plan, we have the green line is the cumulative savings, recognizing that year over year we will continue to build on the prior year savings, right? Cumulative. And then we have each individual year, one showing the passive savings, which are savings from codes and standard updates. And the model we utilize project those out for us. And then we have the active savings, which is, how many square feet of turf are we projecting to replace, and what would those savings be associated with that level of replacement? This, of course, is a projection as a per acre foot, but we also wanted to translate that into gallons per capita per day.
Quick question on the active savings. Is that mostly then the turf conversion, or are there other components that add in there?
It's every program, every measure that we included in the plan is included here. The three primary, the ones with the largest amount of water savings, were the three on the prior slide.
Great, thank you.
Right. Yeah. So, but this includes the whole package.
And then just one check, when we, the 4,000 acre feet per year of savings that we project to achieve by 2045, Paul, when we talk about our water supply, additional water supply targets, we assume a certain amount that will be achieved by savings. It's currently, I think, 2,000 acre feet a year, but you've also noted that 4,000 is looking likely based on trends. Is that the same 4,000 that is referenced through the efficiency plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we take those annual savings and we translate them into gallons per capita per day savings, we can see this projection here. And so this includes historic per capita water use. This is again directly out of the plan. And then we can see the projections in 2025, 35, and 45. And what they were projecting in 2025 for implementation of the plan would put us at 111 gallons per capita per day. It was a recognition that we expected a rebound from the drought, right? That we would rebound, and then we would be implementing these programs, these big initiatives to kind of help us drive that per capita back down to where we saw, not quite as low as we saw during the drought, but with a slight bump up. And in a moment, we'll see how we're doing on these goals. Okay. So in summary, the development of the master plan provides us with a 5-year goal, a 5-year plan to help us meet a long-term goal to maximize the water savings within the community. We recognize that the plan, while it's, written here, we need to be adaptive. We know we may have new programs that we want to implement, and we need to have the ability to do that. And so I think that that's nicely built into the plan as well. It is posted on our website, so it's readily available for anyone who may want to access it. It has a lot of additional details beyond what we're going through here. And of course, all of this aligns with not only the roadmap, but also the district's strategic plan goal. So now let's look at how we're doing this year. So starting with program participation. The table here shows the activity name, which is the same as the measure, right? As I mentioned before. Each of these items we set goals for, which is the second column. And the third column is our actual participation. And I highlighted, sadly, the green, which means good. The things that we exceeded didn't really come through all that clear on the slide. But we exceeded our goals in controllers and caps and rain barrels. We did not hit our goal for turf conversion or pool covers and laundry to landscape. However, overall, the water savings still align with what were looking for within the overall plan at 631 estimated annual savings, cumulative annual savings. So another way to look at this is, okay, so each year, how are we doing year over year? We can take that 631 cumulative savings and look at, well, what was the active savings just for this last fiscal year's implementation? And it was only 39, right? And we can see, you can look at the drought response area, the orange bar is the each year's annual savings, and the blue is the cumulative. So if you look at those orange bars, you can see that it decreases over time following the drought. And it just goes to show that there's just so much energy and focus during droughts that people are actively responding. And it's hard during normal water years to get that same level of response. And that's why we talked about setting these goals aspirationally high, right? We're still pushing to achieve the same level of participation that we saw during the drought. And we're not quite there, although we are continuing to move forward. And making good gains. So that's where we currently land. We can also translate this into per capita, which I think is really important because it's always.
Harry, sorry, before we move on, when the savings that you're attributing to leak notification letters, so we do verify that the leaks are repaired?
We do.
Okay, because there's been some discussion of whether we should be enforcing leak repairs for customers that are on AMI. I know that may not be the topic for today, but
we do. So because it's AMI, we can see whether or not, when and whether or not they made the repair. And we've started doing some analysis around that question. And we're seeing about 20% of folks are not actively engaging in leak repair, but the 80% are. So we are still seeing a significant response rate for the people that we are telling up front. And the way we look at that is if they make the repair within 45 days before their next from when we've notified them, because they'd get a bill within 60 days, right? And so they would then see that leak. So are they making the repair within 45 days of the notification? And if so, then we're counting that as savings. Yeah. And that's how we came up with the estimate that we fed into the model to develop our savings estimate for AMI leak notifications. Yeah. Okay, so looking at GPCD, right? So translating our actual consumption into how are we doing in meeting the goal. We are seeing an uptick. So in 2025, we are at 106 gallons per capita per day. But the rate of rebound is slower. We are seeing a slower rate of rebound. The plan actually projected us to be, as I mentioned, at 111 GPCD. So we are seeing a slower rebound, but we are certainly starting to see a bit of a rebound. And when you compare it to prior drought rebound, you can also see it's dragging out, right? It's just much slower, which is good. That's what we want. I mean, it helps us meet our goals. It really helps us appreciate that our community is tracking with us, right? They are still doing their part. They're engaging. And we don't expect them to always carry water from their showers to flush their toilets, right? We need to be realistic about some of that. And I think that seeing this slow upward trend is a good sign.
Carrie, and it's probably hard to nail this down completely, but 2025 has been a very temperate year, right? We haven't had much heat. We had a good rain in the winter. We're even seeing some monsoonal moisture coming through right now. How much does that impact what we're looking at on per capita use?
For folks that adjust their irrigation based on weather, so have smart irrigation controllers or actively manage, it's significant. It's significant. We still have a number of, quite a few folks within the community, not just us, but across the state, that turn on the irrigation system. They set at the same level for the entire year and then hopefully turn it off in the winter. Those are the folks that it wouldn't matter what the weather, how the weather is different. Sure. So it is hard to pin down, but we do know there's still an opportunity despite the reduced ETO and amount of water required to maintain a landscape.
We still have some area to make progress, is what you're saying.
I do. I think so. I think so. And smart irrigation controllers are going to be key to help us get there.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to jump into some highlights. Nothing that we go through in these next handful of slides is new. It's really more of a recap of remember the good work that we've done over the last year to help us push our master plan implementation forward. So starting with incentive refinements, we increased our turf rebate at the beginning of the year. Hasn't even been a full year yet, so it's hard to go back and do any analysis to say, well, with the bump up by $1.68, is that really increasing participation? We're not sure yet, but we look forward to seeing that analysis completed as we have more data, moving forward. We also increased our rainwater harvesting rebate, also using outside funding, which is great. We implemented our custom rebate. We've had one school participate in that program, and we were able to sunset 2 programs that had reached saturation, which all good work. Looking ahead, we have some new programs that the board has already approved that we're launching, which is our food defroster, our Moen home water monitor, and our irrigation hardware rebate. So more to come on those as we implement them. Some policy improvements. We were able to rescind and replace the gray water ordinance and put in some turf limits, right? So we have a limit now of 20% of a landscape area or 1,200 square feet for single family and duplex new construction, just new construction. So remodels are not impacted. We did some cleanup language on fixture standards, and looking ahead, we'll be looking at our water efficient landscape code to align it with the state's MWELA, which is the Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance. So you'll see that in the coming months. We had some regulatory reporting. The first reporting for making conservation a California way of life regulations were turned in and submitted in December of 2024. And it showed that the district exceeded our water use objective by 28%. So what that means is the state assigned every water utility a water use objective. They said, this is how much water we think you should be delivering, and it's custom to every water utility. We delivered 28% less than that. So we are by far exceeding those state standards, which is impressive. Not everyone can say that. So it's something we should all be very, very proud of.
Not sure we should use the word exceed there.
It's
actually
well,
low.
You
beat the number.
Yes.
Yeah, because it sounds like
yes.
we didn't beat the number.
We did beat the number significantly. Yes. The 2025 reporting is still underway, so I don't have anything to report out on that yet, but I can't imagine that we're not going to be in alignment with our goals.
Carrie, sorry to dive in, but did the state revise their goals based on our water savings in 24? They kept the same number. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's based on per capita water use figure. So 42 gallons per person per day. It's based on landscape square footage. So it's very specific. It's not based on what we've delivered in the past. Yeah. We also are reporting on annual water loss, which is a separate submittal, but it is built into that water use objective. And we met the state's target for us, which is specific to the district, which is 28.5 gallons per connection per day. I also included in here that we were invited to present at the Alliance for Water Efficiency's annual symposium to talk about our residential programs. It's something that staff was very proud of to be able to participate in. Also wanted to just mention, this actually is somewhat new, is the water loss pilot. So we did come to the board and tell you all that we were going to be establishing and pursuing a pilot where we looked at new technologies that would help us find and locate smaller leaks that aren't necessarily surfacing within the district service area. We evaluated 3 key technologies in 2 specific pilot areas that we knew had quite a few leaks. So we thought, well, that would be a good area for us to determine whether or not these technologies were working well. We had a 3-month pilot that ended in June, and we have a report that's developed. It's just about finalized internally, and then we'll be bringing that back to the board for a full presentation just on that pilot and some of our findings and some details on those technologies as well. So you can look forward to that.
Carrie, I don't know, maybe not now, but when you bring that report on the pilot results, if you could also include the process for selecting the technologies that you chose to pilot.
Yes.
I'm just really curious on how new technologies make it into the conversation.
I can tell you that we had a consultant that gave us some recommendations when they did our water loss evaluation, but we also looked at some others as well beyond just their suggestions, but we looked to the experts to help us point us in the right direction. So some program analysis that we've done include, we did 2 surveys for our turf programs. Right, we looked at these 2 surveys as a way to help us understand why customers dropped out of our turf conversion program. And we also wanted to help move them towards completing the process, right? And so we looked at why did they complete it? Why did they drop out? One area of alignment that we found was that there's a need for irrigation and design assistance. And so we just recently released an RFQ where we're allowing designers and installers to send us their information and photos of landscapes that they've designed locally. And we're going to be putting that on our website as a resource to help push folks in the right direction, right? If they need looking for someone to hire, here's a list of folks that we've vetted and that we can stand behind as not necessarily a recommendation, but someone that we feel comfortable would be able to do the job.
Basically, someone who's been vetted that understands the priorities.
Yes.
Is there going to be another public outreach for that for landscape architects? Kind of like a call to say, hey, who wants to be vetted type thing?
Right. So we sent our RFQ to 260 architects, landscape architects and designers. And then once we get that initial list posted, we will, of those responses that we get, we will have on our website an opportunity for anyone else who wants to join our list, but they can submit. So it's not going to be closed out, right?
Okay.
So anyone can join at any time once posted.
And I'll save the next one for a few slides down the road.
Just on the landscapers, how does that relate to the QWEL program or certification?
Right. So
that's also advertised.
So QWEL is for landscape maintenance. What we're doing here is coming up with installers and designers. So different type of business for
Okay.
landscape.
So just so that everyone knows, we do have the Quell program, maybe in collaboration with Sonoma as
Well,
well.
yep, it's part of the Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnerships.
Yes,
package of- yeah.
that identifies landscape maintenance
Yep.
firms or services
Yeah, it's a-
that have this training.
Yep, that's a 20-hour training with a certification for landscapers that maintain landscapes. And it basically is the training on teaching them how to not just increase the run times for your lawn, but actually, you know, do the repairs and have a more efficient landscape. We're looking at doing a local Quell training in February. So we'll be marketing that to our high water users and their landscape folks.
Great.
So as far as the completed projects, we also, I wanted to include some key observations. So we evaluated all of our completed turf projects to understand what the differentiating factors would be. You can see them listed here. And I think one of the main ones that I want to point out is our ability to quantify the savings that we see from replacing quote unquote highly healthy or irrigated turf, right? And so we know this. If a lush lawn is taken out and removed, we're going to get more water savings than someone who had a lawn that was like barely being irrigated. But I think another key piece is for those sites that are taking out actually healthy irrigated lawns, they're also generally putting some lawn back as part of this project, right? And so yet we can still see a 30% reduction in their summer use because they're taking out areas that they're not utilizing and keeping smaller areas that they are. And I think that it's really important. I think it's an aspect of a turf conversion program that we don't see in most communities. I think we're unique in that way. And our new marketing material, I think you'll see, is really kind of leaning into that, is like, how do you rethink your landscape? And it comes out of these types of surveys. So good stuff there. We recently did a single family residential high user analysis. So we wanted to know who are these users, where are they located? You know, how can we figure out how to market to them more efficiently? And what we found was there's just lots of churn within this group, right? There's people that will hit that high use category maybe once, and they'll reach out to us for help, and then they're no longer in that high use category. And it really makes it difficult to kind of market to this segment because of that churn, right? It's not like we could just have one list and say, these are the people and let's target them. So it just makes for requires us to be more innovative on how we're going to reach out to them and what our messaging is going to be and what's going to be most effective. So more to come on that. I will mention that we are going to be doing a similar analysis with our non-residential customers as well. Another point from this single family high user analysis is that program participation is something else we looked at. And we found that these high users are participating in our programs at a higher rate than the rest of the community, right? And so when we think about tier 4 users, that would be the middle bar, the highest 5% is essentially our tier 4 users. They're participating in incentives on a higher rate than most of our others, and at caps at a higher rate than the rest of the kind of general population. And so we are engaging with them and we are working with them closely. And so I think that that's a win that I didn't necessarily anticipate when we started this analysis. So good stuff there. Okay, wrapping up with outreach and collaboration highlights. So we know that to increase program participation, we need to touch people in so many different ways to make them remember us, right? And so it's events, it's our collateral, it's our outreach, it's marketing, all of it. The one-on-ones with customers, all of those pieces help drive participation in our programs. So we're going to start with the beginning of the fiscal year with the 2024 county fair. The district had not participated in having a booth at the county fair in over a decade when we did this. And it was a great collaboration with North Marin Water District, something we're really proud of as well, to work with our neighbors on a big project like this. We did the efficiency estimator in the winter, right? We wanted to bring awareness to the level of indoor water use that we would have deemed efficient. So it's a good marketing campaign as well. We have 8 customer success stories. I have 4 listed here because these are the 4 that were focused on turf grass, but we've gotten so much mileage out of this idea that's within the master plan that engaging our customers using real stories that inspire action. And we found that it really works. Most recently, we had a article on rain barrels. That day, the day the e-news hit, we had 40 people call and sign up for our free EO products rain barrels. So, they read the article, they take action. It was, 40 is a small number, but it's more than we would get normally. So it was impressive. We have this great collaboration with Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, where we did a special edition of On the Waterfront. And this is just continuing to build this collaboration. We've just found it very valuable to have both of us working together in the same direction, cross-sharing, program information, and kind of on the same page as far as providing resources to have a fire and water smart landscape. And that's something we'll continue to build on as we move forward. We did a very narrowed focus digital ad campaign to 5,300 residential customers that had 13% or more of their landscape as turf. We did 2 separate pushes through this type of campaign without much interest, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But this was our first narrow focus kind of digital ad campaign. We did a Halloween themed radio ads, these spooky stories, one of which focused on turf grass removal as well. And then we did, recognizing that we didn't get a lot of participation from that narrow focus turf campaign, we expanded it to from 5,300 to 36,000 customers in hopes to, instead of just focusing on folks that just have a lot of lawn, let's focus on everyone across the board. If you have lawn, then we want you to talk to us about it. And that started in May and June. And so then we wanted to look at levels of participation. So our rebates, rebate applications that were coming in. So this is fiscal year 24. And I wanted to compare that to 25, just to give us an idea. We saw a doubling of applications from 24 to 25. And then we wanted to dig in a little bit deeper. If we just focus in on fiscal year 2025 and we look at our various campaigns. So this is Marin Water promotion. So this doesn't include social media. I should mention that because we do social media posts like every few days, like, hey, remember us? We still have turf rebates, right? But the big pushes, right? So the On the Waterfront features, the e-news, et cetera. Also for those customer success stories, when it's in, say, San Rafael, we send it to San Rafael and they put it in their local newspaper, like their city manager newsletter as well. So we're getting a lot of push from those as additional kind of marketing through those as well. So this was just us. Then we did our paid campaigns. So these would be the PSAs and all the other the focused digital ads that we ran, which still doesn't explain that spike, right? Like what is that? Yes, the IJ article. And so our earned media, which was great, but it's not just earned in the sense that they picked it up on their own. We actually worked closely with the IJ. We pitched the story. We found them a customer that actually was one of our customer success stories. So we knew it was going to be something, a really great story to tell. And you can see it in the level of applications that we got from that following week and then the next week as well. So it just goes to show the value add of all the different ways that we continue to market our programs.
Did you let them know the success of that? Yeah. So maybe they'll do it again. That's great.
Right. So we've had a few more. So it's a great segue because our new campaign material has launched. And I think that one of you even brought the postcard in. It looks stunning. It's kind of a new look and feel, a new push. And there's been a couple of IJ articles, and I have that same graph showing this current fiscal year to date, and you see 3 of those big peaks. So we're getting about 7 applications a week, which was last year, it was about 5. So we can already see the increase just with this new marketing campaign. So it's great. It's great to see, and more to come on that. So wrapping up. So we'll continue to implement the master plan. We will evaluate our programs and bring any changes we have back to the board. And of course, provide regular updates on any other items that come up. Thank you. Any other questions you have, I'd happy to take them.
Thanks, Carrie. Encouraging, really encouraging. And it seems like this really strong focus on both leak detection and notification plus turf conversion, continues to be the core of the plan, and also seems to be bearing fruit. So that's really encouraging. We we hear more and more about water budgets. It feels like that's becoming kind of trendy in different parts of the water sector. And I'm wondering if that's, I know those are, water budgets are not part of the existing plan. But just wondering if that is something that we should look at and consider for, updates to the plan down the road, if that's going to be something that's feasible here. Basically, sort of estimating based on landscaping, size of the lot, maybe other factors, what would be a good target water use number for a different property, and at least sharing that information with the resident to give them something to kind of to aim for. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it actually is in the plan.
It is in the plan.
It is. It's starting with our dedicated irrigation meter sites, right? So because we then don't need to take into factor the indoor use, how many people are in the household, all of these other factors that are unknown.
Right.
But starting with dedicated irrigation meters and looking at one, do they have non-functional turf or not? Because that'll be a requirement from the state, but that gives us a kind of a step through the door to say, okay, well, this is how much water you should be using, and what's a meaningful way to actually let them know about that. And it's going to be that online portal, which is going to directly be linked to AMI rollout, right? And having a customer portal where they can go on and see, how am I doing with my budget? Where am I at? And having that. So it is absolutely in the plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So it seems so somewhat aligned with the rollout of AMI.
Yes.
And the development of that customer portal.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is absolutely in our purview, and we're, there's a lot of buildup to get there, right? What is the landscape area? What's the irrigation efficiency? What's, a good comparison for us to be able to say, here's where you should be versus where you are. So yeah.
In other water districts, are there efforts to estimate sort of indoor usage? Because I find that very challenging. I'll hear from some of our customers that have, 3 or 4 kids, or, teenagers doing a lot of sports. It's they really struggle with indoor use.
Yeah, there's a couple of different methods. So like the city of Santa Rosa, for example, they have sewer billing on their bill as well. And because of that setup, they use their winter bill, their winter use as their tier 1, as their baseline. So that's one way to do it. Another way is someone like Irvine, they say it's 4 people per household. And if you have more, then you need to let us know and we'll make that adjustment. And so if you're 1 person in a household, you get a lot more indoor use. There's no perfect way.
Right.
Right. So it's really just a decision of what path do we want to go down in.
Something we might consider.
It's a real challenge,
Yeah.
obviously, to get those numbers right and fair and
Yeah.
equitable across a broad community. So it's one of the primary challenges.
We've done it before, and when we did it, we had dogs and cats as residents. So even in a community like ours, there's people who will try to push the envelope.
In Marin County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make
So I think the difference also is if it's informational or if it's based on billing.
Right.
So that
Right.
would be I think a very distinct difference in the need for accuracy.
Okay. Well, good. Look forward to, further discussions on how we provide information to customers around water consumption. But thanks a lot for the encouraging update.
One thing, if I could add, Chair Russell, just briefly for your thoughts, we kind of breezed over we issued the 5,300 residents outreach concerning turf and didn't really get much response. And then we pivoted to the broad approach. And just for us to think about is, we hear a lot about targeted marketing and the assumption that the more targeted you are, the better your results are going to be. And this is sort of raising a question for me anyway. Is this a numbers game? Are we just trying to drive numbers here? And so the larger outreach to the broad group of turf owners, if you like, may be much more beneficial for us than a highly on as we forward.
assuming everyone wants to hear your message too.
They do.
Thank you again for the continued partnerships with the other outside agencies. And I think, you start getting more traction when someone hears from the water district for years, like they just shut up. And then someone else chimes in and says, "It's a good idea too." I think more people start picking it up. So I continue to support pushing that because I think what we're driving to is a Mediterranean sustainable landscape. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it. It's not just water, it's not just fire, it's a combination of the both. But one thing I don't want to lose, a lot of these pictures we're showing, they're awesome. These yards look so good when you're replacing it. But the associated costs, and I know you touched on it a few presentations ago, so it's out of reach for a lot of people. And so wants to be tone deaf and understand that some people can do that, just a reach. But the other one I was going to ask about is where we're seeing traction in the fire side of things is when a home is sold. So that point of sale component, right? And what we used to see before was, oh my goodness, this is so much work. I don't want to deal with this stuff. But we're seeing now, talking to the realtors, that home values are actually potentially increasing if a home is stamped fire safe. And I know that's a broad stroke to do that, but it'd be interesting to see if the realtors have any interest in determining where that home fits in our monthly water bill type thing. If you want to continue to support this landscape, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, and having them know that, and it'd be interesting to see if work could be done to help drive that down. But that was it. Thank you for the update.
Great. Are we ahead or on target with our AMI rollout? I didn't see a timeline, which I was hoping to see.
As you know, we were hoping to get the RFP out in Q3, and it's looking like it's Q4. Have a meeting this week with the legal team to review the RFP. So most of the work's been done on the RFP. So hopefully we'll be getting that out this Q4. It won't be significantly, delayed. It's obviously a 4-year rollout at sort of the fastest, and we're a few months maybe behind.
Okay, and then after we get the results of that RFP, we'll know more about the rollout timeline, or
yeah, exactly. We have two things to bring to the board. First up, we have a slight change in the approach that we talked to you about how we might approach implementation of AMI, and we've had a revision in our thinking after talking with some of the experts on how we might go about that. So we want to bring that to you, and then we'd like to bring the results of the RFP, which are going to have the definitive pricing that we're all kind of very interested in.
Yeah, right. Well, listen, I really appreciate the master plan itself that we did, and the stakes in the ground that you put in to help measure ourselves and to set targets, and coming back and reporting on it. It sounds like you've done some data research on the high water users, and I'd love it if you could share that with us. So how many are in those top tiers? Are there fewer? Are there more? If some churn fast, how many churn fast, and how many don't churn? And it sounds like you have all that, and it would be really good. And I think we've asked for it in the last few meetings, is to review this kind of data. And it sounds like you have it. So it'd be wonderful to see how effective we are at reducing that. And frankly, is that an important use of your time, right? Is that helpful? Are these high water users a significant part of our effort, such that if we did reduce them, it would massively benefit us? So any real numbers and analytics would be really helpful for us, please.
Okay.
I just forwarded you LA Water and Power's urban water management plan. Their public stack of PowerPoint presentations, and there's a couple of graphs in there I think you should take a look at. I put it in the email, but it's on slides 15 and 16 that show historically how they've done. I think they're useful in looking at what the projections were versus the actual over a period from 1970 forward. It's interesting information, and gives you a little feel for that. In perspective to what Jed just said, we danced with a landscape architect. They came back in the 6 figures for our yard. And while we were willing to go that much, we weren't willing to go that much. Able should, one thing, but willing is a whole other aspect. It just didn't seem to be valuable to me to that kind of number. So, you know, it's one of those things, it's a good idea, but it's pretty pricey, at least the way they see it. So, you know, I would say we have a modest yard, not a big yard. So anyway, any public comment?
Yes, Phil Sauter. And Larry Minikis.
Thank you very much for the presentation and discussion. It's really encouraging to see the use that's been made of the user segmentation data collected so far, as well as see specific goals for some of the district's most impactful demand management activities. Although these goals are aspirational, we're giving ourselves targets that will lead to programs and budgets required to achieve them, and to help analyze the programs that are successful and the ones that fall a little short. This kind of plan brings our assumptions and the customer segmentation data on which they're based into the daylight, where they can be discussed and optimized for improved results. We're now collecting data that will tell us, for example, who's rebounding from the drought and who isn't. That would be fun to know. It's what I've been hoping for, and I'd like to see the water efficiency. I'd like to thank the water efficiency team for building it into the continuing plan for ongoing discussion. At the July 22nd Planning Committee meeting, I think we agreed that we would bring the high user data to the full board, along with the data on commercial, institutional, and irrigation customers. Clearly, this 2025 master plan review would also benefit discussion by the full board and the public. I hope this can be done while the data is still fresh. I think I heard something about irrigation customers having the opportunity to get to lower rate levels. And I'm sure I heard something about Tier 4 users being able to qualify for lower tiers under certain conditions. It would be good to have these programs presented to the board and see if financial breaks for heavy users may need to go the way of the old summer heavy user discount. I'm really looking forward to the continuing discussions of water efficiency goals and the changes in managed demand necessary to hit these targets. I keep thinking about the next drought, say 5 years from now, and hoping we're in a position where most customers have already made the changes necessary to extend our water supply by another 4 to 6 months. That would be an accomplishment, I think, every bit as valuable as other sources of supply under evaluation. And I don't see water supply and water efficiency being an either-or issue, but rather both. Thanks again to staff and the board for setting us on this more reliable, quantitative path toward water efficiency through managed demand.
Thank you. After Larry Minikis is Eric's iPad on Zoom.
Yeah, good morning, Carrie. Thank you for your presentation. And playing off Paul's comments about this being a numbers game, I'd like to point out something. We have converted 56,603, I think it was the number, of square feet this year, which really only turns out to be 1.3 acres. And we're aiming at 170,000 square feet as a goal, which only turns out to be 4 acres a year. So if you think about it, all we need to do is convert 10 homes with a 1/4 acre each, which this is not meant to be a criticism, but an opportunity. What it's saying is the place we can save money, the place we can be most efficient seems to be turf conversion, and putting more energy into that and trying to get to much higher numbers in the future might be the way to go. Obviously, it's difficult. Staff is trying very hard. The aim this year is 100,000. We're only at 56,000. It's not the end of the year yet, but it's showing that may be the place to continue to invest in. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric's iPad, please.
Hello, this is Eric Groves. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So two things. One with regard to water budgeting. I would like to encourage, and we've all talked about this in the past, the water budgeting process and building data to provide information to customers to proceed more rapidly than seems to be the case here. I think it will be important for the next rate setting process to have this in motion much more enthusiastically than just restricting it to pure irrigation customers. So please take a look into seeing whether you can do that more rapidly. The second point was with regard to trying to figure out whether a customer is actually using the right amount of water. And I personally tried at our property to put together basically some sort of audit as to whether we're using our water appropriately or not. And it became quite clear to me that this is actually quite a difficult exercise. And I think your process that you're describing is probably not intensive enough to give the customers what they're going to need, because at the end, there's a trade-off between simply turning water off, or the alternative is to redesign and re-implement your irrigation system, and that's quite expensive. So I think those things which require more thought, and see whether you can put together a proper audit process for customers to use. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further speakers.
Okay, thank you. Roads and Trail on-call maintenance contract.
Morning, committee members. Sean Horn, Director of Watershed Resources. I'm joined with Carly Blanchard, our environmental planner for the district. This is a review and comment item for an update to our roads and trails on-call maintenance contract. So we established this about 3 years ago. It's been helpful for the district to carry out our work, and we've got a need to continue this type of contract. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Carly to provide a bit of an overview of what we've scoped in this contract and what we're hoping to see from the responses we get from the bid process.
Good morning, directors. My name is Carly Blanchard, and I'm the district's environmental planner. Today, staff is proposing a 3-year initial contract for on-call roads and trail maintenance. Not only will this contract act as an extension of the small but mighty watershed maintenance staff that are responsible for maintaining and repairing over 150 miles of roads and trails, but it will also allow for work on specialty projects and other road and trail work as needed. This contract will assist the district in replacing undersized and failing culverts throughout the watershed, of which there are 700. And it's well timed, as the district recently acquired permits for an additional 70 culverts to be replaced over the next 5 years. The contract will be a key component in completing all these culvert replacements within the time frame of the permits. This contract will also assist with specialty projects such as the Azalea Hill parking lot, which looks to regrade the parking area and improve visitor facilities. And likely over the next few years, more of these types of projects will come online, and this contract will help implement that work. Although bids have not been received yet, staff estimated the cost of each year for the 3-year period. The first year is estimated at $600,000. The second year is estimated at $750,000. And the third year is estimated $900,000 for a total estimated contract award of $2.1 million over the 3-year period. Today, we're asking for review and comment on the proposed contract and recommend bringing this contract to a future board of directors meeting to award the contract to the lowest qualified bidder.
Yeah, so with that, we'll take any questions that you might have about it.
Do we currently have an on-call maintenance contract?
Yeah, so we established an on-call maintenance contract 3 years ago, and it's been supportive. The contractor wasn't quite as responsive as we were hoping for over that 3-year period, but we did get some good projects done with them. And it's critical because of the kind of seasonality of the work. So right now we would be doing culverts, but we have an opportunity to do some prescribed burn work. So our heavy equipment operators have pivoted to doing more prep at the direction of County Fire to prepare that burn unit using mastication equipment. And so we're kind of on hold to get back to our culvert work. So you can see how this kind of fits in nicely and helps kind of add capacity to the work that we're doing on the watershed.
And so this is already budgeted then?
Yeah, that's correct. So this is budgeted in the capital budget primarily. A lot of it's for culvert work. So we're trying to catch up on those 700 culverts, and then also for kind of annual road maintenance. So we want to kind of do larger kind of segments of watershed roads at one time. Right now, we're really doing kind of a spot treatment approach. So trying to increase that, and it is budgeted, yes.
Right. And then Sean, last question is, I learned that we do have the now relationship with Redwood Trails Alliance for, I'm guessing that's still though fairly limited capacity, more focused on trail maintenance.
Yeah, and so we utilize the California Conservation Corps, the California Conservation Corps North Bay as kind of labor for trail maintenance work. And then more recently, the Redwood Trail Alliance, which was kind of an evolution of what we started with the Santa Cruz Mountain Trail Stewardship Group 2 years ago. And we ran a program with them the first year just to train seasonal staff. And then the second year, we started seeing value in having them support the work that CCC and CCNB were doing. It just kind of brought a higher quality of trail work to the equation. And so now our partnership with Redwood Trail Alliance is kind of continuing that evolution and putting it in place with our volunteer program, as well as with our CCC crews.
Got it. All right. Well, yeah, continuation of the existing program to ensure that we have the right capacity for those activities seems important to me.
Did.
How did we do in terms of hitting the budget for the first 3-year contract?
Yeah, we were short. We had a contractor that, had the capabilities and interest in doing the work, but maybe not always the staff capacity to show up. So how we're going to kind of manage that going forward is try to come up with a work schedule annually for the contractor so they know seasonally when we want to do 10 culverts, when we want to do which roads, and really direct them that way, which we didn't have quite as clear of a plan that maybe would have corrected that.
Gotcha. Is this enough?
I think
Money-wise?
it's a good question. I think we'll have a kind of report out as we go through this year in, year out for how much we're getting done. But it is an increase in what we've had in the past by almost double.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the estimating on it. If it does start coming up short, let us know sooner than later.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the presentation.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay. Well, with that, we will adjourn. And the next meeting is on October 28th. Thank you all.